Yours is not a fake.
Oh boy. I'm still kicking. This is gonna be the first video in my attempt to make content. The kind of content I've always dreamed of creating, where I go on long, lengthy, sometimes incoherent rants. Usually I reserve these for pets and housemates, but welcome friend to the first video of me incoherently babbling about a video game. And boy oh boy, is it gonna get me in trouble. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. I've attempted to create a script in which I talk about why people don't like this game, but for now I'd like to just rant you why I kind of am so done with this game. The first problem with Mount & Blade Bannerlord is that it's been like 6 years. I know it's technically been in development for 10 years, but I always count it as 6 because I believe that's when they first had the Gamescom trailer and they had remade it in like a new engine. Some bullshit like that. I was also in high school at the time, so, you know, it was exciting to me as someone who had just discovered Warband to know that there was a new game with all these new cool features. I think one of the most insulting things about Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord is that it's left early access. And if you're wondering what that means, it doesn't really mean much. It means they're able to launch it on the PS5. The PS4. Now, I don't really know how to feel about this, because on the one hand, I think it's cool that, you know, console gamers are getting exposed to this sort of action sandbox strategy, RPG experience that they normally wouldn't have access to. But on the other hand, it just feels so shallow and pointless. Phrases that describe my life for 100. That leads me to my number one issue with Bannerlord. It's that I think it has the worst patch notes out of any game I own on Steam. Like, I follow a lot of games currently. I follow Gates of Hell Ostfront. I used to follow Warhammer 3. I follow a lot of games, ready or not, right? And when they have an upcoming patch, they'll be like, hey, we're gonna be adding some cool stuff, but stay tuned, we'll show you what we're adding. And for a while, Tailworlds kind of tried to do this, like they would make little videos showcasing some of the changes.
The progression system could be a little inflexible when trying to adjust your strategy mid-campaign or experiment with different playstyles. Well, now you can visit an arena master to reset the skill perks of you, your family members, and your companions.
If someone's not consistently immersed in Bannerlord and like constantly checking for updates, they might not have any clue what they actually added. It'll usually be like 20 like crash, ending conversation crash, fixed. There'll be like 20 bug fixes, which obviously I know bug fixes are important, they're essential, it's good that they implement them. But you literally have to dig through and look for what's actually important. Sometimes they'll have little videos that actually show off the major features they've added, but I mean the last one that they did was for the release, which was to coincide with all the media hype they were getting, as well as the console launch. So it's really hard for me to not look at it cynically. There's a reason there's an entire genre of Bannerlord content on YouTube that's just deciphering the updates. This makes it almost impossible to coax someone that you knew who used to play Bannerlord into even trying it again, and to be quite honest, I don't blame them. What, you're gonna download a 50 gig game to see if they've actually added conversations with the lords and other NPCs, which was a feature of Mount & Blade 1, which came out in like 2007. Pro tip, they haven't. Oh, but sometimes I get congratulated after I got married. Side note, I think the funniest thing about that is that in my current playthrough I ended up paying for a mail order bride just to see what kind of dialogue I'd have, and it was basically a greeting, like a marriage cutscene, and the nothing. You can't speak to her. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can do. There's no little romance minigame. She's the same as every other vapid, soulless NPC in this f***ing game. People be like, oh, you're complaining that, you know, they're actually fixing the game, and it's like, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is sometimes you'll read the same thing across like multiple updates. It's the ultimate fugue state Mandela effect of patch notes. Because I launch the game and I go to play the new patch and I can hardly ever tell that anything's changed.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
As far as I understand, the newest patch actually adds the back alley feature, which is part of the crime system, which means that 2 years after early access, after the game officially released, they actually were able to implement a feature they showed off in 2016.
As well. My highly player requested. It's crime.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
So let's sort of see how this works in the game.
You want to try
Yeah.
and mess them up?
I'm going to take over.
It's from coming and creating crime, so
Okay.
we're sort of helping the economy to be stabilized in the city. What we also can do, which is completely new as well, of course, if we have a companion that has the trait of being sort of criminal, we can start our own criminal enterprise here and take money for ourselves. And since we're part of this faction and we know this lord who owns the city, that would cause a strain in our relationship if he would find out. So, but we don't care about that right now.
But if you're ultimately interested in like destabilizing a city, you could start crime there first.
Yeah.
It's a great way to earn money, particularly early in the game.
That's cool.
So, round of applause everyone for Tail Worlds. Yeah, I'm in an awful mood. Sorry, Tail Worlds. I love you. I love the drones that your country makes. I love your camels. I mean, to be fair, this game does have Humphrey the Camel, but even just looking over some of the footage I've recorded for, like, Bannerlord, like, there's stuff that's still broken. I think at this point, the fans are in this sort of Stockholm syndrome where, like, they can taste a finished game. Like, they can taste a full Bannerlord that will fully supplant and replace Mountain Blade Warband. But, you know, what you get is this kind of half-baked thing where, like, you go into the arena, all the audience is still marionettes. Probably some of the worst graphics I've ever seen in a game released in 2022, because it's basically just a placeholder from, what, 2 years ago? So many instances of features in this game where I feel like it's just them doubling down, because Tail World spent the time creating this and putting it in the game. I mean, it would just be a waste of time and energy if it wasn't there, right? Another example of this is that, I don't know, to be quite frank, like, I don't know how to avoid this comparison any longer, but it's like they wanted to make Crusader Kings. They wanted to make Crusader Kings Mountain Blade.
He what? Was cloven in half. Nunu. No, not Nunu.
Which, you know, that's pretty cool. It's a cool idea, but there's this whole family system. Like, you can have kids and have a successor, and you grow older, and you need to become your kid. And all of this exists in a game that you can complete in maybe like 3 years in-game time. It's almost like, hey, wait a minute, the reason it works in Crusader Kings is because it literally takes years for things to happen, so logically you would need a successor. But in this franchise, it makes almost no sense unless you're intentionally trying to, like, stall out the time. I don't know, unless you're really taking your time. And even then, you'd be looking at maybe 2 generations of people. So you have this whole dynasty, 3 kingdoms, clan system going on, almost pointless. I mean, the other thing too is that the reason it works in Crusader Kings is because you have different relationships with the NPCs in that world. But when your world is a shallow sandbox with nothing in terms of relations, then it makes no sense. The Dragon Banner. Spoilers? I don't even know how to touch this if I do try and make a more objective, reasonable video, because it's hard to even comprehend. So you're spending the entire game on this questline where you're talking about old battles, you're trying to search for the artifacts, you're completing the Dragon Banner. Oh, the lost artifact, the Dragon Banner, and there's a whole banner system that came with the release of the video game. The game is now released, by the way. It's not in a beta. This is a fully fledged game. That's so mean. Yahoo! So you're searching for the Dragon Banner, and then you finally complete it, and the item is like minus 5% mounted damage or something ridiculous like that. It gives you like a 0.5 resistance to cavalry charges. It's something pathetic. So a lot of players will come across this banner, and since it's been like a year or 2 in game time before you've probably even done this quest, unless you're speedrunning. Oh, maybe people speedrun this game. But by the time you've gotten the Dragon Banner, you've probably won a better one from the arena. And in the lore of this game, this is what gives you the right to rule. It gives you the right to create your own empire. It's the fabled Dragon Banner with the 3 pieces. It's like the Dragon Ball of the Mountain Blade universe. How do you do this? How do you consciously do this? Like, I'm trying to think of a rationale in my head for how this could happen, and it's too hard. I think it's baffling. It's like maybe they made a mistake. They were too embarrassed to admit it. They're like, hey, you actually made the Dragon Banner be one of the shittiest banners in the entire game. It's supposed to be a legendary artifact. They won't notice. Leave it in. How is it possible? Maybe it just takes them so long to correct an error that, like, they made the mistake, but they just had to push it because, you know, the game had to release for that big console release. I think I've cracked the code. It's just like, it doesn't fit at all. Nothing fits. It's an absolute mess. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I need help. If you find this insulting or something, thank you. Leave a comment. That'd be great. And I just want to say in conclusion that I know I've been very negative, but, you know, I want to see Bannerlord be a great game too, right? But I'm not going to sit around on the Reddit, the forum, the Steam community, and talk about the 2 new sets of armor that they added this update and how they fixed the ladders for the 18th time. I'm hoping to still make a video on why people don't like Bannerlord, but also, like, conversely with that is why people like Bannerlord. And after playing it for a while, there's some redeeming stuff there, but I think all the RPG elements and dialogue with NPCs, like, all the little things are just gone. And they're replaced with other little things, but honestly, it doesn't really work. Bit of a tone shift. Well, to be honest, I want to make a very big Bannerlord video. I know people have been asking for a lot of Stone Shard content, but I had some pretty big stuff happen in the old personal life, and I seem to have fixed my computer for the most part, so I'm back to editing, but it's just made it a lot harder to focus. So stay tuned. Yeah. My name's Jeff. Imagine if, like, you know, like, instead of, like, Dream's Minecraft sex mod, he made, like, a Bannerlord sex mod.